The message popped up on my screen at 2:14 p.m., just as I was preparing slides for the quarterly review meeting. For words, simple, affectionate, harmless at first glance, but they hit me like a punch to the ribs. We need to talk. My hands froze above the keyboard. The office noise around me, printers humming, phones ringing, muffled conversations, faded into a hollow static. My pulse drummed against my collar. Those 4 words were never a good sign. Not from your spouse. Not out of the blue. I stared at the message, rereading it, as if one of the letters would rearrange into something less threatening. I typed back, "Is everything okay?" But she didn't respond. Seconds stretched into minutes. Minutes felt like hours. It wasn't like us to be cryptic. Sarah and I built our marriage on transparency, at least I believed we had. We shared morning coffees, arguments over whose turn it was to do laundry, and late-night confessions whispered into the dark. She was my anchor, my balance. Even on our bad days we ended with honesty. But lately something had been off. Not enough to call it a red flag. More like a flicker. A shift. A draft under a door slightly ajar. She'd stopped lingering when she hugged me. Her smile had become curated, like she was arranging it intentionally rather than feeling it. She'd been working late a little too often, laughing at texts she didn't show me, and guarding her phone like it carried state secrets. Still, I'd convinced myself I was imagining it. People go through phases. Marriage isn't a steady heartbeat. It spikes, dips, stutters. We had just been in a dip, right? The meeting that afternoon blurred into a haze. Words slipped past me. Charts on the projector swam meaninglessly. I nodded when expected, spoke when required, but my mind was at home. By the time I logged out and packed my bag, the sun outside had turned the city golden. The kind of late afternoon glow that makes everything look softer, gentler. Normally, I'd pause to appreciate it. But today anxiety churned in my gut. I tried calling her. Once. Twice. No answer. A voice in my head whispered something's wrong. Another voice snapped back, don't jump to conclusions. Trust her. By the time I reached our driveway, I felt nauseous. Inside, the house was too quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Like after a storm has passed but left the air sharp and heavy. Sarah sat at the dining table, hands clenched around a mug of tea gone cold. Her hair was tied up in the messy bun she wore when she was stressed. She didn't look up right away. When she finally did, her eyes were red. She looked exhausted. Guilty. My stomach dropped. You scared me, I said softly, hanging my coat. What's going on? She opened her mouth, closed it, swallowed, then tried again. I didn't want to text you like that. I couldn't pretend anymore. A tremor ran through my hands. Pretend what, Sarah? She inhaled shakily. I haven't been honest with you. Time fractured. I felt like I was floating above myself, watching this scene unfold from a distance. I forced my voice to stay even. About what? Her lips trembled. I met someone. The world didn't crash or explode. It deflated. Like all the air had been sucked out of my lungs, leaving me hollow. I didn't yell. Didn't cry. Didn't throw anything. I just stood there, heart splitting quietly, cleanly, like paper tearing down a crease. Is it? My voice cracked. I cleared my throat. Is it serious? She nodded once. It started months ago. At a conference. I didn't mean for it to happen. I kept telling myself it was harmless, just connection. But then it wasn't. And I hate myself for it. I sat down because my legs wouldn't hold me. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I tried, she whispered. I kept waiting for the right moment. But there is no right moment to hurt someone you love. You love. The word tasted like poison. Do you still love me, Sarah? Tears filled her eyes again. Yes. In a different way. You're my best friend. You're my comfort. But I fell. Don't say it, I warned. She looked gutted. I'm so sorry. Silence swelled between us, thick, suffocating. My mind raced through memories, searching for signs I missed. The late nights. The guarded phone. The sudden gym membership. The way she pulled away during intimacy. Every puzzle piece clicked cruelly into place. And the worst part? Part of me understood. That was the betrayal within the betrayal. I could see how she drifted, how routine replaced passion, how I'd been too absorbed in work to notice her loneliness. Guilt slithered through the cracks in my anger. This wasn't a villain and victim story. It was two flawed humans who stopped seeing each other before one of them reached for someone else. Do you want to be with him? I asked. She hesitated. I don't know. A blade disguised in honesty. We spoke for hours, crying, questioning, dissecting the broken pieces of us. It was raw, brutal, tender in moments. Not a fight, more like a postmortem of a life we built together. At midnight, she slept in the guest room. I lay awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house breathe around me, heavy with shared history. I thought heartbreak would feel explosive, but it was quiet. A slow bleed. The next morning I left early, needing air. I sat in my car outside work, numb, watching people walk in, phones in hand, coffee steaming, unaware that someone in the parking lot was learning how to breathe through devastation. My phone buzzed. A new message from Sarah. My chest tightened as I opened it. I know last night was awful, but I need you to know something. You didn't lose me because you weren't enough. You're more than enough. I lost us because I stopped choosing us, and I will regret that forever. It shattered me all over again, and yet strangely it also healed something small. She didn't justify, didn't shift blame. She carried her guilt openly. I closed my eyes, letting the words settle. Love isn't always enough. Sometimes the lack of choice is the betrayal, not the lack of love. The twist? 3 months later, it wasn't her lover she left for. It was herself. She ended the affair. She started therapy. She asked for space. Not for another man, but to rebuild the version of her she'd lost long before she betrayed me. And I, broken, angry, grieving, chose something unexpected too. I forgave her. Not to fix us, but to free me. Some betrayals don't end with slammed doors. Some end quietly, with two people who once loved each other deeply, letting go with dignity, carrying both the wound and the wisdom forward. Sarah and I are no longer married, but we are no one's enemies. Sometimes the most shocking ending isn't destruction, it's grace. Would you like